question for you right off the bat. What's your opinion in terms of book Aragorn or movie Aragorn? Do you know much of a difference? And who do you think is the stronger of the two, for example?
I'm going to assume, the main difference, and one that a lot of Tolkienites are protective over, is the fact that Aragorn in the films was very reluctant to be king, and he was kind of like a Jon Snow. I don't want it. And that was very different because in the book he does an awful lot of, or he knows who he is, and he just wants to be king. And I think
he's like a young Simba. I just can't wait to be king.
No, he is. He's much more sure of himself in the books as well. And
exactly, yeah.
The whole thing of him coming back to Gondor and like coming back as king, like that's all. He accepts that, whereas in the films, I understand Peter Jackson's take on that as well. Like, it does create an extra storyline to kind of go, of course, and it adds a bit of character to him. Like, you kind of feel like he's more humble, modest man. But in terms of who's stronger, book Aragorn or film Aragorn, I'd probably say book Aragorn, because we don't really see many of his, I don't want to call them powers, but like skills,
his abilities.
His abilities, put to use.
Don't worry, we'll learn all about those today.
We'll learn, I'm sure we will. But I'm going to have to say book Aragorn, because I'm sure there's a lot more detail in there.
Of course. The books, there's going to be a lot more detail. And I would say that one of the most important things is what you just said there, the fact that he's more, when I say stronger, I don't just mean like physically stronger, like he's way more buff in the books or anything. I mean like, strength of character, and that he knows who he is, and he's more assured of himself. And and again, you can see, like you said as well, Peter Jackson's version of Aragorn, he has a little bit more self-doubt, and it kind of creates for a more, typical story arc in a movie where the main character is like, oh, I don't know, I don't know if I'll be able to do this, but eventually he does, and it's great, and it's, it's more of a surprise. Whereas in the beginning, he's like, I'm great, and I'm going to do this, and I will be the king, and all that kind of stuff. It's like, maybe it's not so much of an arc, but we'll look at that in more detail. Now, there is another very important detail that's something that we should discuss, which is kind of Aragorn's reconceptualization in the movies, which is that in the movies we always hear about that him being the heir to Isildur, whereas in the book it's more that he is the heir to Elendil. Now, of course, he's the heir to both in both versions, but the book kind of stresses Elendil more, while the movie mentions him by name just once as the owner of the sword, and stresses Isildur nonstop. So in the book, Elendil is a figure that everyone knows and remembers and regards with utter reverence and admiration. And in the movie, his fame appears to have been entirely overshadowed by Isildur's. So in the book, no one outside a handful of the wise knows of the One Ring or of Isildur's refusal to destroy it. But in the movie, these facts appear to be widely known.
Well, do you think that change is... It kind of represents the whole change of character of Aragorn, because, if he's going by Aragorn, a descendant of Elendil, then if he was to introduce himself that way, then it's kind of like, I've come from this strong... strong, like king bloodline or whatever. But in the films, he brings up a couple of times how the same weakness is in his veins.
Of course.
Isildur, and it's kind of like, there's plenty of movies out there where someone is the son or the grandson of someone who's an extreme failure. So how can they ever? It's a common trope, and that's kind of like what Aragorn.
Well, yeah, I mean, so in the movie, Aragorn's not regarded as the heir to the greatest lord of men to walk the shores of Middle Earth, but he's regarded as the heir to the weak son who messed everything up. It's like, imagine saying, I'm the heir to Johan Cruyff, or I'm the heir to Jordi Cruyff. It's like, or for your non-footballers, it's like...
I did not know there was a Jordi Cruyff.
I used to play for United.
Did he?
It's terrible.
Oh.
Yeah. Think of like, I'm the heir to Will Smith, or I'm the heir to Jaden Smith, or something. It's like...
or whatever Will Smith's other son is that nobody knows the name of.
Oh, even him. Yeah. The same weakness flows through my veins. So that whole the same weakness things, that's just all, I don't know, all that malarkey. That's just a complete construct of Peter Jackson's, where Aragorn doubts himself, and he just kind of maybe makes him seem more human and more vulnerable, I suppose. And he's not sure of himself. He doesn't count himself worthy to be king. But in the books, Aragorn is very sure of himself, and he doesn't doubt his own heart. There is one point where he tells Arwen that he's not sure if he'll be able to defeat Sauron, but he goes on to say that doesn't deter him in any way, and it's more like a kind of a nonetheless moment where he's like, we will meet them in battle nonetheless. He's like, I don't know if I will actually win this, but I'm going to go for it because, I'm the man.
Give it my best.
So, yeah. So that's an important detail. Now, there are some other things as well in the book. Aragorn has the gift of healing, and he can literally pull people back from the brink of death. And the hands of the king are the hands of a healer. And so Aragorn, we hear in the book that he tended to Éowyn and to Merry, who both returned to consciousness when Aragorn touched them or kissed them and things like that. He also carries Andúril, his sword. He has that with him from as soon as they leave Rivendell. In the Fellowship. From the start, he carries around the shards of Narsil, and he uses them to show people, like, look, I have the shards of Narsil. That means I'm the king. And
it's kind of like his passport, isn't it? It's
exactly.
to show people who he is. Yeah, to get into the club.
So he uses it that way.
Where's your shards? Like, not tonight, buddy. Sorry.
Not tonight, buddy. So he has them with him, and then when they go to the Council of Elrond, he gets his sword. Plug. He gets his sword, he gets that reforged there, and then he has it with him for the whole trilogy of the movies. Which is what he was thinking back then. Oh, maybe I'll have this now for the final movie. That'll be great. Exactly. So there you go. Book Aragorn.
Yeah, badass. I forgot about that extra little thing that he has the shards with him the whole time. But again, I understand Peter Jackson's take on it. It's just another thing to make the third movie epic, is finally seeing the sword reforged for the first time. And also, I'm trying to remember, it's just gone out of my head, where we were talking about how Aragorn doubts himself earlier. I think, again, if you're making a movie, it does, I know we already touched on it, how it completes an arc, but it kind of, it shows how strong the ring is as well, because Peter Jackson's trying to say, like, look, even Aragorn, someone who's like so strong at heart, he even doubts himself to be able to like face Sauron or even hold the ring. And I don't know, it's just like an extra thing where you only have a couple of hours or 12 hours for making a movie, and you just want to show the power of Sauron and the power of the ring.
No, you're right. And that's a good point, the fact that about the ring as well, that in the movies, the reason Aragorn doesn't go with Frodo is because he knows that maybe the ring will eventually corrupt him. But in the book, it's kind of more specific that it says that he didn't really feel the corruption from the ring. Whereas in the movie, that's the main reason that, like, they don't say it in the movie. They're not like, Frodo, I can't go with you because, but like, it's understood that way, that the ring will eventually corrupt him.